and his wound, that you're feeling a little less than. So it really is great to just come, and no matter what you're having, to be here with the group. Okay, friends, a few announcements, and then we will get started. We're going to start on our backs, just so you know where we're headed. Our props for today are a blanket, please, and either 2 blocks or a chair for standing poses. The chair might be very helpful. We're going to be working toward revolved triangle. So as you gather props, a couple of announcements from the Institute on this 8th of Kislev, and then we will get started. Jewish clergy, educators, and all Jewish professionals are invited to join our wonderful author and master mindfulness teacher Yael Shai and the exquisite Rabbi Miriam Margles of the IJS core faculty in a program called Flourish, a 12-week transformative program in Jewish mindfulness. So the link is there for that. Really highly recommend that for our Jewish professionals and clergy. Rabbi Angela Buckdahl of Central Synagogue is going to be offering a 3-session course on grappling with anti-Semitism and its rising tide. So please check that out as well if you are interested. Meeting anti-Semitism with mindfulness couldn't be more important and more timely. So do check those out. They'll be here also after our class. Okay, friends, we're going to warm up for a few minutes, and then I'd like to share some teaching on Parshat Vayishlach, our weekly Torah portion, and then we'll continue with our practice until 1/4 the hour. And then we'll have time for some Q&A. So let's get started. Please come onto your back. You can use your blanket under your head if you'd like some support in that way. You might lengthen your whole body long and just take a nice yawn, sigh, stretch. Any sound you want to emit, a yawn, a sigh, a moan, whether on sound or just a HA sort of sound, go ahead. Bring your right knee in toward your chest, give it a hug. The left knee can be bent with the sole of the foot on the floor, or the left leg can be long, as I'm modeling here, flexing through the foot and extending. So we have one hip in flexion, that's the right knee hugged in, that's flexion, and the left leg, the other leg in extension for the hip, right? And then switch sides, left knee in, right knee bent or right leg long, and just feel the difference between, from hip to hip, between flexion and extension. Then change sides one more time, each side. Bring both knees to the chest, give a little hug. We're going to take a little lying twist to start. Take your arms out to a T position. The palms can face up or down as you prefer. Inhale, and then exhale the knees down to the right side. They may not make it all the way. It could be early in your day. Just take it easy on this. Just finding a gentle twist. And this can absolutely be done seated in the chair if you prefer to be seated. And then come on back through center and take the other side. Knees down to the left. If you're in the chair, you can sit to the side of the chair and turn towards the back of the chair for your twist so that you can use your hands to help you into the twist. And then come back to center And we're going to take figure 4, crossing one leg over the other. And I want to offer that you can also do the figure 4 sitting in the chair, seated at the edge of your chair. You can also, if you don't want to do it lying down, you could do it seated like this with the hands extending back and the legs. So just, a few variations on offer there. We're taking the right ankle, crossing it over the left thigh, and then draw the whole thing in. If you're seated in the chair, the left foot stays on the floor and you're leaning forward with the torso until you find your edge. And if you're on the floor like me, you're threading your hands behind the left thigh and drawing it toward you. Right? And find your edge here where you have a good amount, the right amount for you, sensation in the right glute and outer hip. And then carry this whole thing a little bit over to the left and just notice how sensation changes. And hold over there. And then come back to the center. You can go back and forth a couple times. And then switch sides. Crossing left over right. Either leaning forward if you're in the chair or drawing the legs in toward you if you're on the floor. And if you're sitting up but on the floor, you can play with the amount of pressure you put back to your palms. So you're drawing in, and then after you establish that sensation in the center spot, move your legs over towards the right. Just see what you notice. No pain or strain, or God forbid, any burning or anything like that. Right? We don't want to get, especially for those of you with sciatica, this is a nice PT exercise, but also you want to meet yourself where you are. So finding that spot over to the right and then coming back to center. Then you can hug your knees in one more time. Feel free to stay here in constructive rest if you'd like on the floor while I teach. Or if you'd like, you can come to sit up. We're going to start with a little chant from Ilana Arian and Noah Aronson. And Rachel's going to put that into the chat. It's in English. You can listen or you can join me. Open to the fear, open to the loneliness, open to the dark, the unknown, open to the strength, open to the holiness, open to the light of coming home. We will be ever open, ever open, ever open. Open to the fear, open to the loneliness, open to the dark, the unknown, open to the strength, open to the holiness, open to the light of coming home. We will be ever open, ever open, ever open. Happened to find this song. There's more to it and to the song, and we'll put it in the chat after class. Happened to find it in my meanderings this past week. I'd never encountered it or heard it before. Love Ilana Arian and Noah Aronson both, and when they team up, it's great. So you can check them out if you're unfamiliar. And I just found that this chant called Ever Open really brought us to Jacob's situation in this week's Torah portion. Open to the fear, open to the loneliness, open to the dark, the unknown, open to the strength, open to the holiness, open to the light of coming home. He finds himself alone. He wrestles with the ish, with the person. He really comes in to face his challenges this week. So this is an iconic Torah moment, and let's talk about it. So sharing a little bit from Rabbi Mira Neshama Niculescu's teaching from this week. If you're following IJS Torah study weekly, maybe you're in this track and you've seen this perhaps already. If not, you will, if you are working with the Torah portion. So Jacob sends messengers, Vayishlach, and he sent messengers of peace toward his brother Esau, who he's been in flight from, right? Because he knows Esau wants to kill him. Hearing that his brother is walking towards him with armed men, he gets ready for the confrontation, and he sends gifts to try to make peace. He also prepares for war, right? Covering his angles here. He prays for protection to the divine. But after crossing the river, the Yabok River, with his family, he decides to stay behind alone. Levad. Vayivater Yaakov levado. And he was left alone. And that night he sleeps as a mysterious figure, and Ish comes to wrestle with him. Vaye'avek Ish imo. Ad alot hashachar, and a man wrestled with him until the break of morning. While he had run from Esau for years, this time he stays to confront his challenger. And more, he keeps this dark shadow very close. He doesn't flee, he doesn't release him, and only at the break of dawn, when this mysterious contender asks to be let go, Jacob says, I will not send you away until you bless me. I will not let you go until you bless me. What a powerful, powerful teaching, to let our wounds, to let our challenges bless us. So Mira says the following: so often we do the opposite. The difficulties that come to us, we instinctively try to push away. And yet this is what spiritual practice is about: growing beyond our instincts and learning to choose other responses to life's challenges. This is one of the deepest truths I've learned throughout my spiritual practice, that the only way beyond difficulty is through it, all the way through it. It's necessary to become very close and intimate with what challenges us until the wrestling becomes an embrace, which is what happens. Esau comes and they embrace until the challenge becomes a blessing. And this is what Jacob teaches us through his night wrestling. But that's not all. Jacob's fight teaches us something else, the wisdom of scars. Our own battle never leaves us without scars. Every wrestling match we undergo leaves its own unique imprint, whether physically or emotionally, right? And in our story, Jacob is wounded in the hip joint. So that's exactly what we're going to address. Today's practice is brought to you by the hip. Outer hip, the glute, the joint. We're going to wrestle with, I think, one of the poses that's a little more challenging, and that is revolved triangle. So we're going to move our way into that and try to take from Jacob's courage and Jacob's wrestling in our own practice. So please come to stand. The first thing we're going to do is find some opening for calf and Achilles. You can either fold your blanket or you can make a jelly roll. That will give you a little more, right? So you'll decide what you need here. If your Achilles are really tight, just fold the blanket. But we're going to place the heel on the floor, and then the arch of the foot and the toe mound, the balls of the feet onto the blanket. You may want to take a wall or your chair for a little stability if you need, or sometimes just leaning forward a little bit with the torso helps you balance. So settle into this, take a little time to fidget with the feet and then really pause. It can be a lot It can be a lot, this one. So give it, just notice where you are, not too much, not too little, and breathe. This is a really, really nice one to check back in with every now and then. And just feel what's present for you throughout the body, and particularly through the calves, the ankles, the Achilles, and then really slowly come off. And that was a lot of flexion, so take a point with the toes. You can even tuck the toes and the top of the foot under behind you. Just give a stretch in the other direction. So we're going to be needing this for the lower legs as we come into our highlighted pose here. All right, friends, let's start with a forward fold. Take the feet hip width apart. Ground the feet. Take the hands to the hips. Inhale and lift the chest, lift the torso. And exhale, fold forward. Take the hips, pelvis over the tops of the legs. You can bring hands to the chair or to your blocks or to your shins. Lengthen the spine. And draw the thigh bones back. And see that your sitting bones are in line with your heels. So sometimes we want to hang back. But really in this pose, if you're feeling a little bit pitched forward, that's probably a little more in alignment. We can start to get used to that. Engage the quads, lift the kneecaps to do so. And then when you're ready, inhale and come on up. Next, we're going to look at high lunge. You can use your chair for some balance. You may not necessarily need it. Left foot forward, right foot back. Right? The hands could be to the hips if you like, or the hands could be to the chair. And let that right knee be heavy. Let the pelvis be heavy. Lengthening down as the crown of the head presses up. And then just working with that right hip flexor and thigh. You can send the heel back. To whatever extent you like, you can straighten through the leg or not, but mainly feel the alignment of the pelvis as you work with this, right? So draw the belly in, lengthen the tailbone even as you send that right heel back. And then switch legs. So finding this high lunge. So really the work we're doing right here, right now, is for the hip flexor, the quads, for the legs. Finding grounding, finding stability. Good, and then come on, step forward again. Now we're going to take that right leg back once again. Instead of the high lunge position, we're going to turn the foot down, turn the heel down. If it's comfortable and safe for your leg, right? So you can always continue to work in that high lunge position. But if it's okay for you, turn that back foot down. The whole foot is on the ground. The heels might roughly be in line with one another, or you might want to widen your stance. You'll see what you need. Because the idea is that more or less both hip points are facing forward like two headlamps, right? We're not turned out to the right, we're facing forward. It can be hard to get that back heel down. You can roll up some mat and put it under the heel, or you could take your blanket, put it on the diagonal, and let it support the heel. So have the blanket be like under the arch of the foot to the back, right? So you could work like this. So we're just grounding the legs, both legs are straight, and working on this forward facing stance. Really stamp that back heel down, right? So this is where it might be a lot for the inner thigh, for the inner line of the leg. It might be a lot at the hip. What I mean is don't be surprised by it or think that you're super out of shape if this is like really something for you. You know, this is kind of not a place that we usually are with the leg. So it's a great way to work the mobility of the hip, but it can be really challenging. So we're stamping down, especially that back heel, and kind of keeping more of the grounding into the back leg. And then we're going to switch sides. So it's right foot forward, left foot back. You can take the same support of the blanket. If you like, you'll just turn it. And finding that left heel down. And again, see how much distance you need front to back, and see how much distance you need in width, side to side for the legs. And begin to draw that left hip point forward. Be very gentle with your low back, with your sacrum, right? Be really attentive to that place, that you stay nice and wide. So grounding that back heel, both legs straight, extending the torso up. Be here and breathe. And then when you're ready, switch feet again. Left foot forward, right foot back, right heel down, toes forward. And that back heel, in case you can't see mine so well, it's on the diagonal. From here, we're going to come into any version of warrior one you might like. So again, if you want to work with the heel up and just come into high lunge, that's great. If you want to have the heel down as I'm doing, also fine. Continue to draw up on that right thigh. And then from here, bend through the front knee. Could be a little bit or a lot. The knee is tracking in line with the big toe. And you can have hands to the chair for balance, or to the hips, or maybe you want to bring the arms up. We're coming towards Hanukkah, and the arms in goalpost, as we say, you can think of as a Chanukiah, grounding the base, feeling the lights of that candelabra. Or maybe you want to have the arms extended up. Maybe you want the palms together. Maybe you want the gaze up. So you decide. But the main thing is really finding that grounding as we wrestle with this pose, with this position. And then switch sides. Take a pause. Take the time you need before you switch sides. Left heel down. Right foot forward. So find home, and then bend through that right knee, through that front knee. Feel like somebody's just drawing your shin forward. So I'm just taking kind of a baby pose here, right? Because I'm feeling a little tender myself in the low back. I don't want to push on it. It's early in the morning for me, for my body to be moving. So You know, you could just take a little or you could take more, and then decide where do you want the arms to be. As you open the chest, open the heart, and feel that width. So this is quite an extension of the spine from tail to crown. And in the traditional pose, the palms are together and the gaze is up, but that can be quite a lot on the neck and on the thoracic. So you just be wherever you want to be with this. Couple more breaths. And then straighten, release. Switch sides, right foot back. Now you're going to have your chair in front of you or blocks to either side of your front foot. Right foot back, left foot forward. Establish the legs. Inhale, lift the heart up, and then exhale, fold forward. Long spine. Again, the right hip point is closing down, is closing forward. It's not opened out. The hands are to the chair, or the hands are to the blocks. Be here and breathe. Draw the hands back to the hips. Inhale, press into the feet and come on up. And then if you'd like, you can do it the same way again with the hands down, or if you'd like, another variation, internally rotate the arms, take opposite elbows behind you or prayer behind the back. If this is available to you, widen the collarbones. Inhale, lift the heart, and once again, exhale, fold. So we're really working on grounding and balancing, and there's a lot of core engagement here to find both grounding and extension. Long spine. And then press into the feet and inhale to lift up. Release your hands, step forward. Other side, left foot back. So again, find your stable base. Hands to the hips. Inhale, lift, and exhale, fold forward. And just notice how this is on the second side. Lengthen the spine. So the hands are coming to your chair or to your blocks. Hands to the hips. Inhale, press into the feet to come up. And then you'll take the same thing again, or if you'd like, the other variation, holding elbows, opposite elbows behind the back, or taking prayer behind the back. Let those upper arm bones draw back in space. Inhale, lengthen the tailbone as you lift the heart. Press into the feet, exhale, come on forward, balancing, lengthening. Legs are straight, torso's long. Just a couple of breaths, nice and easy, and then press into the feet as you inhale to come on up. Release the hands, step forward. Take a moment, pause, breathe. Okay, and then we change sides. We're going to step the right foot back. Right foot back, left foot forward. We're going to come into revolve triangle. We're starting by twisting to the left here. So your hand, when you come around, it can be on the chair, it can be on the block, or it can be on the block inside the foot as well, or on the chair inside the foot. So you can be inside the leg, or you can be outside the leg, depending on how much you're feeling the twist. Okay, so grounding the feet, drawing that right hip point forward to the extent possible. Inhale the right arm up into length as you press that right outer heel down. Exhale, lengthen through the spine, coming forward. And then finish by twisting, taking the right hand to the outer left corner of the chair or to the block. Or, as I said, if you want to be inside the leg, you can be also inside the left leg. And then beginning to work the twist. Beginning with a nice wide hand on your sacrum to offer support and awareness, just to bring awareness to this area. And then as you're ready, you can take the left arm up toward the ceiling. Your gaze can be forward or your gaze can be up. You decide. A lot of length through the torso. And then as you're ready, unravel, come on up, and we'll switch sides. So stepping forward, take a moment. Step the left leg back. Find the grounding of your feet. Notice any fear that arises. Maybe it's there. Right? Just like Jacob having the courage to just sit in that space of maybe darkness, of confusion, of challenge. For some of us, it might be a new pose. It might be a challenging pose. It might be giving us a lot of new information in that hip socket that we didn't really have before in our just regular goings about. Inhale, lift the left arm up. And exhale, lengthen as you fold forward. And then, of course, bring up the twist in any measure, in any way you'd like. So begin to work the rib cage around, drawing those left ribs under you. Really square away with your legs, your pelvis, working up the body, and then you can decide with the top arm, right? You might want to keep it on the sacrum. You might want to lift up. Just a couple of breaths in this pose. And as you're ready, slowly releasing and coming up to stand. Take your legs as wide as the mat and turn the toes in slightly. Inhale and lift up, and then exhale, fold forward. This is just a counter stretch. Doesn't have to be much to draw the thighs back and to widen and open the sacrum, the low back, evenly without any twist. So not really a big fold. It's a lengthening. Right? Sometimes we use our poses differently depending on how we sequence. Right? So sometimes we sequence this to just be work for the hamstrings. At this moment, that's what we started with. At this moment, we're coming back to this pose with the wide stance and using it as counter pose to find the evenness of the pelvis once again. When you're ready, inhale to come up. We're going to come to the floor. So come to sit with your soles of the feet planted forward and wide, And your hands behind you, lifting the chest up, and just let the knees go side to side. A little bit of windshield wiper. So I want to point out what's happening when we do this. When I come over to the side, I've got one leg, the one coming down, in internal rotation, right? And the other thigh is in external rotation, right? So we're like one and one. So just notice that, how the thigh attaches to the hip. Internal and external rotation. Good. And then I want to ask you to just, you can stick with this one and just keep going with it, which is sort of a nice, easy way. And you can pause to find the internally rotated thigh, right? You might stay here a couple breaths and then come to the other side. Or you might consider the following: taking a block or even more than one block behind you and under you. You can take it on any height. The knees are, so if you struggle with the ankles or the knees, this may not be the one for you. You might want to just stay with windshield wipers. But if you've got the range of motion available to you in knees and ankles, you're going to sit up so you can be tall. And the knees are together or towards together. They're just not splaying. And the heels are on the outside of your hips, right? So you can see your heels, you can see your toes as you're sitting. And this is both legs internally rotated. And you can take your hands and just roll your thighs in one at a time. Roll them in, right? So finding that internal rotation up to the top of the thigh where it meets the hip. Now, ideally, we want this, again, to feel like a balm. It's a counter stretch. Just be here and breathe, a couple breaths. So you're either here or you're working with that windshield wiper, holding one down. Or alternatively, you could sit on the edge of the chair to have less at the knee and at the ankle, and let your leg be off the side. I'll show you what I mean by that. Same movement possibility, right? So I've got that internal rotation of my thigh, a bend in the knee and a bend in the ankle, but they're not as large angles in any of the spots. And then you could shift over, do the other side. So wherever you are, just a few more breaths. And then from here, we're going to take a seated twist. So you could stay here, or if you're in the chair, turn to the side of the chair. If you're here on the block, keep that left leg where it is. Step the right sole of the foot forward. Take your shin, your hands to your shin, and lift up tall on the inhale. And then exhale, take a twist to the right. So just a little twist. We twisted big in revolve triangle. This is just kind of a mini, and you could also come in and out a little like an agitator on a washing machine. Kind of moving forward and back, however you'd like. And then come on back, open out into a counter twist. So you feel the other way, the open twist, and then switch legs. Alternatively, if this isn't your preferred method, you can do a twist lying down. You could do, if you're seated in the chair, you'll turn to the other side. So if you're with me in this configuration, you would be stepping your left foot onto the floor and taking hands to the left shin and lifting up tall. Inhale here, and then exhale, take your twist to the left. Again, it's kind of a cool down twist, so it doesn't have to be huge. Just be here and breathe. And when you're ready, release and take the counter twist, the open twist in the other direction. Lovely, lovely. Wonderful job, everybody. Not an easy sequence today by any means. So now take your time to settle into stillness. You may want to move your body a little bit in any ways you were missing before you settle into stillness, or perhaps you're ready to go right into stillness. If you do have a chair with you in your practice today, I'd like to suggest bringing your lower legs onto the chair all the way to the backs of the knees. You can do this on a sofa also, or table. A little bit of an angle for the thigh bones. And then you could cover yourself with your blanket or place it under the back of your head. Let your arms be extended and your palms facing up. Rock a little side to side and tuck each shoulder blade under you like a bird's wing. Just tuck them onto the back. Feel the opening across the collarbones and across the chest. And we'll just take a few minutes of stillness, of silence. Open to the fear, open to the loneliness, open to the dark, the unknown. Open to the strength, open to the holiness, open to the light of coming home. We will be ever open, ever open, ever open. Open to the fear, open to the loneliness, open to the dark, the unknown. Open to the strength, open to the holiness, open to the light of coming home. We will be ever open, ever open, ever open. It's necessary to become very close and intimate with what challenges us until the wrestling becomes an embrace until the challenge becomes a blessing. This is what Jacob teaches us through his night wrestling. Begin to deepen the breath, coming back to the surface. Make your way to a comfortable seat. As we come to the close of our practice, we send the benefits out for blessing outward to those who need. Beginning with cholim, anyone who is ill. It might be for yourself, it might be for those near you, in your family, your community. Prayer for healing. Refuah shlema, full healing, body, of mind, of soul. And you might send it out in further, wider circles toward all human beings and all sentient beings on this planet. I invite you to include all your prayers. And we also keep in mind the 101 hostages in Gaza, and pray as the liturgy suggests for us on Mondays and Thursdays for their safe return. Achenu kol beit Israel. You can join me or just listen. Achenu kol beit Israel. Achioteinu kol beit Israel, hanetunim betzara uvashivya, haomdim ben bayam uven bayabasha. Hamakom Yerachem aleim, veyotziem mitzara, lirevacha, umeafel aleora, umishibud ligeula, hashta bagala, uvizman kariv. Hashta ba'agala uvizman kariv v'nomar. Amen. May they be returned safely home. Thank you all for practicing today. Shavua Tov. Wishing you a terrific week. And we'll be here again next week. We're here for Q&A. Sorry, I went over by a few minutes. So if you're on your way, wishing you well. We're here for Q&A. Any reflections you have on, or questions you have on the Parsha, on the teaching, on the yoga situation, please use the hand raising function at the bottom.